and welcome to another episode of Friday Night Knits. My name is Rachel, and I am the host of this YouTube channel where I love to talk about my works in progress, my spinning, my crochet, my sewing when one day I'll figure out my sewing machine. So I would love to share my experiences with those different things, and I am so excited that you're here with me. So today I have a couple of finished objects I would like to share, as well as some works in progress. Also would love to talk about things that have been inspiring me as well. So for example, I've been diving deep into my t-shirt drawer that will pair well with cardigans that I have in the past. And so for example, this is a cardigan I made about, I want to say it was definitely during my first year of knitting. You can see it's not the most flattering, well-fitted item, but it was definitely something I learned a lot from. The yarn I used for this was Malabrigo, and I don't think I used any mohair based on a halo. I don't remember how to pronounce the pattern, so I will put the name of it, but it was designed by Isabell. Kraemer, who is a designer who I really love. I love her work. I've made several of her patterns, and I look forward to casting on something else by her design on my needle sooner than later. I'm also wearing a t-shirt on We Rise Together. I wanted to wear this in honor of the wonderful memories I have about Jesse Jackson. I grew up in Georgia, and so Jesse Jackson was talked about frequently, not only by various members of my family, but when I was at church, when I was at school. And so I'm so grateful for the additional commentary I know about him in it, besides the historical information I know about him as an educator. So much, in fact, that I've been thinking about doing an activity to talk about various individuals who have ran unsuccessfully, but successfully at the same time for the presidency. Jesse Jackson was a contender for the Democratic nomination and probably presented one of the strongest presentations for this particular opportunity. And it definitely pushed open more doors and more opportunity for other men and women of color to seek out the higher level positions in the federal government. So with all that said, I am excited to bring his legacy into my classroom. I know that there are instances in my students who will take me for AP African American Studies to learn a little bit about him, but I am excited that I can bring forth additional details about him, because with his passing, more and more historical information is being shared. All of a sudden, everyone's research experts and sharing out this information. So it's a variety of different ways to bring his legacy into the light, into the classroom, and hopefully inspire many of my students to take up causes that mean a lot to them. But my students at my job really don't need much inspiration for that. If anything, they are inspiring me because they are little political activists who genuinely don't give a what, and they will, if there is something that they're passionate about and that they want to see change in the society, they are going to push forward for that. So I'm so proud to be a member of that school. But anywho, so with all that excitement and joy, it sparked all this creativity in there. And despite all the depressing things that are happening here in this country, I'm leaning into some of the messages that Bad Bunny shared in his presentation that he did at the Super Bowl, his performance, I should say, at the Super Bowl, about love. And so I wanted to share with you about my love. And so the first love I want to share, or loving object I want to share, are some socks I had to pry off of my feet. Stone Knits came out with this pattern, obviously in lieu of Valentine's Day, and it was ahead of Valentine's Day, I should say. And when I saw it instantly, I was like, I want those. And so I immediately purchased the pattern, and I went through my lovely collection of yarn and found some yarn by Leading Men that I purchased from their fiber booth at Rhinebeck. No, they were at a Woolen Affair when I purchased the most recent yarn from them. But anywho, at Rhinebeck, they had a Woolen Affair. I keep saying that, which was at Rhinebeck. Anyway, they had 50-gram skeins of yarn, and that's usually about the amount of yarn I use whenever I'm making socks. So it was perfect. And I have this beautiful gray, not gray, it's like this neon green. So this is what I have left. I have two little balls of this, and the colorway I don't have because that would be responsible, but it is on my Ravelry page. But Leading Men Fibers is the name of it. So here is another one of the little 20-gram skeins that I also purchased. I bought like 5 or 6 of them. So since I had so many different versions of their little skeins, I decided to go ahead and cast on a pair of socks. Now, I am not the best at color work knitting socks. I am still very novice to it. And I was watching Stranger Things. I have fallen in love with it. I just finished the last episode and I needed a day to recover because it was such a good episode. And now I can see what all the hype was about. I'm like, okay, I totally get it. I know why everyone loves it. And now I'm down for it as well. So these are my socks. This was the first one I made as well. So like I said, I've been wearing them, so excuse the little dinge factor or whatnot. I decided to do a size 2, where you just standard cast on 64 or 63 in that matter. The ribbing came out a little weird for this one. I'm not too sure where I made the mistake or how I made the mistake, but there's this little section here where the ribbon wasn't 100%, but it's all good. The white that I used for this particular sock, I genuinely don't know. I found it in my collection. It was in one of those little balls I had. So I was like, I'll just use this. And I'm glad I did because I'm trying to like make it go down. Although it doesn't seem like I put a dent in anything in this room. But anywho, and for the second sock, I decided to go a little colorful with it. So I used the exact same colors I used in the first one, but I did an opposite. So for the heel for this one, I used it as a heart. And for the main body, I decided to do it in the green instead of the white because I didn't have as much as the white left. I don't even think, do I have any left? Yeah. This is all I have from the white. I want to say this was probably a 100-gram skein of yarn. I genuinely don't know where that yarn came from. It worked up really nice, so I have zero complaint about it, whatever fiber it came from. And I got really creative with the socks. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm out with the toe here at the sock. I don't know what I was thinking, but I really like what I ended up doing, this little striping effect. Whereas this one only did one stripe and then called it a day. So all in all, these have turned into my favorite pair of socks. Like I said, I had to force myself to take it off. I caught floats in the beginning of this particular pattern, which I don't think was the best idea because it's a little hard to get on my foot. I'm not gonna lie, like I struggle with getting on my foot, but I don't care. I will struggle to do it, but not so much where I'm ripping the foot. And I almost did here, as you can see in that little section here. I gotta repair that. So I'm glad I have some yarn left over so I can fix that. But they are definitely, I'm gonna keep them close. They're definitely one of my favorite pairs of socks that I have made with my own hands. And I've learned so much from that particular process. So much, in fact, I cannot wait to cast on another pair of colorwork socks. And I couldn't. I ended up doing so. The second pair of colorworks, well, this one isn't done yet, so I'm not going to tell you. This is from my works in progress. Let me pace myself. Let me pace. So I did, however, finish another object, which is, here it is. So in addition to finishing the socks, I finished making my Lamia wrap. It's not as big as I had hoped. That's because I didn't have as much yarn, but I am so in love with it. So this, if you recall, this is from my fractal spin. This is the first time I did a fractal spin, and I decided I was going to make something, the Simple Things scarf with it, but I kept looking at it and all I can see was crochet. And I've been hit with this crochet bug, and I'm going to talk about that more in a minute. And I'm so glad. This is Tunisian crochet. This is the Lamia wrap by Toni Lipsy. And it came out stunning. The wool I used from this was Shikiko. I don't know. I'm going to put it on the screen. This is also available on my Ravelry. But as soon as I saw the yarn, like purple, as you all know, is my favorite. I've been feeling this sky blue. It has pink in it, which I do enjoy. I hate to admit it. I love pink. It is what it is. I'm just going to accept it. I love pink. Okay. But it goes perfectly with my hair because my hair is purple right now. So I'm really in love with this wrap. So although it's not the biggest, it definitely can be worn as like a cowl. I can just like tie it in a little knot behind my head, and just put like a little sweater on and oh my God, that looks so cute. And call it a day. I could totally see myself wearing this. And what I like about the size of it, and I am someone who loves big, bulky scarves. The bulkier, the better. I love like covering my whole face with them. But anyway, what I like about this so much is that I can wear, this is probably going to be perfect for the fall. The fall here in Massachusetts can be very windy, especially in certain areas of the state. And so having a nice little garment wrapped around your neck where it's not too heavy that you can wear under a fall coat would be perfect. And I have this beautiful London fog coat that I purchased years ago when I first moved here, and this would fit quite elegantly underneath. So all in all, I'm very proud of myself. I love the Lamia wrap. It's probably one of my favorite patterns by Toni Lipsy. She is such a great designer and creative, and again, you learn so much. So if you are interested in dabbling in Tunisian crochet, I've said it once and I'll say it twice, this is definitely the pattern for that because it's going to get you where you need to go. So in addition to finishing this pattern, I'm trying to find the safe space on this table. I have been crocheting. And so one of my coworkers, amazing human being, I love working with her so much. She was scrolling and she came across this crochet beanie and she's like, gosh, I really love that. And I was like, yeah, it's nice. She was like, could you make me one? I'll pay you for it. And I'm like, if I have the yarn in my collection, you don't have to pay me for it because sometimes it's just about the process for me. But some people are assistants, so it is what it is. So she showed me to it, and I showed her different versions of crochet that was similar to what she was thinking about purchasing because she was going to spend like $50 on it. And I'm like, I already have the yarn that's been just sitting here. I had 3 balls of, let me just grab balls of this Gapard, Puna Lana. It is 50% wool and 50% alpaca. I genuinely didn't know what to do with this. I bought 3 balls of it and I wasn't really impressed when I got it. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this? It wasn't enough to make like a garment with. And at the time of purchase, I was really into garment knitting and I wanted to buy a small quantity of it to give it a little test before like buying a full version of it because alpaca can be a little itchy around my neck. And so I wasn't 100% sure if this was the brand I wanted to go with. And so I'm glad I only bought 3 balls of it because like I said, it reminds me a lot of Cascade 220. So rather than spend, because I spent like $15, I believe, per halo, I can buy the Cascade 220 for like $11. So all in all, it's a very beautiful yarn, a little sturdy. Here's the twist on it as well. So I don't know if you can see, but the twist is like pretty solid. And so I'm like, I showed her all the different colors of yarn and she identified that she wanted the gray and I was like, perfect. So this made 3, it's still a little damp, so I'm trying not to move it around too much, but I just, came up with the crochet design for it. I had to watch a YouTube tutorial about doing the decreases at the top of the hat because it's been a long time and I forgot about the technique of doing a slip stitch at the top, so I made it flat. Instead of crocheting it around, I made it flat. So I cast on I think I started with either 45 or 55. For this hat, I think it was 45 because I have another one to show you. But I did 45, basically just taking from the middle of my head and coming down to the tip of my nose. Although that my coworker and I have a different head shape, I figured that my size of my head is pretty standard, and so it would work. So that's how I figured out 45. And then I did a half double crochet into the back loop up. And then when I got to stitch 41, that's when I did a slip stitch into the back loop at the end of it. And then you turn and then you do the first 4 stitches, slip stitch, and then you go back down doing half double crochet. And it was very addictive. And I forgot how much I truly enjoy crocheting. Like, I know I like to crochet, but I don't do it as often as I used to, especially since I've turned into more of a garment knitter as well. The back here is a little bit longer because the way I stretched it out on the things. So I'm going to hopefully try to smush it back. But as you can see, the yarn definitely gives it some excellent definition. And I've been a little bougie when it comes down to my crochet, where I don't often use my more expensive wool or yarn for crochet. I tend to use more of the least expensive or the blended yarns or even acrylic. So like when I say blended, I mean like acrylic and mohair or acrylic and merino. That's what I typically will use in my crochet or acrylic in itself. And so I'm trying to branch out a little bit more, and recognize that you can use high-end yarns for crochet as well. And so this was my first time using a really high-end yarn for crochet, and I have zero regrets for it as well. It looks outstanding. So, and it gives the same beautiful stitch definition. It definitely reminds me of knitting, but it worked up so much faster. I would finish with this hat in a day and a half. And it would have been just one day had I just not gone to bed at my usual bedtime. And so she loved the hat so much. In fact, she was like, "Do you think you can do a multicolor one?" I was like, "I sure can." And so, you know how we have all slew of like leftover balls of yarn that we keep saying that we're going to use it for. Like I have a whole bag in my closet just full of leftover yarn, yarn that I purchased and use just a small quantity of it. And so I decided to go through my spin cycle, and it's still wet. That's the reason why I'm holding it like this. It's wetter than the other one. So I decided to go through, well, actually, no, it's not. Oh, okay. But anywho, I decided to go through my spin cycle, and I had a whole bunch of leftover those little balls of spin cycle yarn, because that was one of the ones that she had identified that she liked. I took a screenshot of some of my yarn in my collection, and one of the yarns that she picked, I'm like, "Oh, you know, I already have that used up in some other, not used or broken up in some of the other balls. So I will use that coupled with some of my other leftover yarn." And I'm so glad I did this. So the yarn that she really liked is the teal color here, and my leftover yarn is what you see in the different variations. And so I'll show you the other side of as well. See if I can get it a little closer. Oh my goodness, it looks so nice. And again, I did the exact same thing. I cast on 45, and I decided to do 4 slip stitches for the crown, and then the bottom for that. And then I realized 45 was not long enough, because this is obviously a sport weight yarn, whereas this is more DK weight. And so because it was sport weight, it didn't have the same length that initially when I was crocheting it. And I tend to forget that crochet will grow fairly well. So I added this little ribbing to the bottom of it, but now I realize I didn't necessarily need to do that. But the great thing is that she can roll it up if she wants to, and it would give her the hat a little bit more stability in that regard as well. So all in all, I'm really proud of how well both hats came out, and I look forward to giving them to her. Some other finished items that I wanted to share was actually, it's more related to my spinning. Excuse me. So I've been talking about my journey into spinning, and I've actually filmed 2 vlogs of my experience and hoping to put together my third. I actually started filming the third one today, so you're going to see this outfit again when you watch my future video. But anywho, I really have fallen in love with spinning, and I've been talking about spinning for the jaunty. I've been wanting to make that particular shawl for a hot minute now. It's half broken fisherman rib. I really want to improve that technique. I haven't used that particular stitch in years, so I want to like dabble back into it. So with that said, this is some of my finish spin, and here is the middle. The pink I added myself, and there's a story to it. Here we go. The jade, again, I added myself, and there's a story to that. So rewind back to Super Bowl Sunday. We spent the whole day home. We had a lovely snowstorm either the day before or that morning of. So it was fresh snow on the ground. We took the kids out to go frolic in the snow, and I had made a whole Super Bowl meal. I was very excited about this. And I wanted to spend the day spinning, but you know, fibers get everywhere. So I made sure I wore the proper thing. So I come in my yarn room to spin, and I'm ready to spin for this jaunty. I have the whole day practically to spin. So it's like perfect. I'm going to have 4 to 6 hours uninterrupted because my husband's watching football. The boys are with him. It's just like, yay, free time. So I'm like sitting there trying to draft, there's the word, draft this wool onto this bobbin, and it's not drafting at all. It keeps getting matted or caught, and I noticed the fibers are just like stuck together, and nothing I could do was getting it to be unstuck other than like ripping it apart. But the more I ripped it apart, it lost its staple length, and I was just like, you got to be kidding me. And so what ended up happening, let's see if I can find it. Oh, here it is. Sorry for the crinkling. This is what ended up happening. I have these little, look at this. So that was my only way of getting out all the little kinks in order to get it onto the spinning wheel. But I was like, you know what, Rachel, don't get deterred. You got this. You got this. You could just blended. I just tried all these different things. And fortunately, I have a lot of patience. But then I realized that I wasn't getting the full staple length and that it was causing my spinning to be inconsistent. I'm not skilled enough to spin with small fibers. Plus, I did not have like a hand carder or in order to turn it into like a blended wool, and then I could roll log, put it like in a roll log. Like if I had that, I would have totally done it, but I don't have that. And this is what I ended up with. So here's like an example of what it was looking like on my bobbin as well. And when I say the struggle was real, the struggle was real, and I was getting really frustrated. So I went through what wool I did have on hand and just started using it to mix with that because I noticed that because it was so short, it was not consistently moving into the bobbin. So I took mohair and Surrey alpaca and some other wool I had, and this is what this cake came out. I'm not too fond of it because the green and the golden mohair did not blend as well as had envisioned. So I was like, okay, at least I tried. But however, with this one, I like this colorway a lot more. This one came out more to my style, but I wasn't really feeling this. I'm not really feeling this for the jaunty. When I see myself wearing a jaunty, these are not the two colors I see. So what I decided to do is that I'm going to do a fade. Since they have some similar colorways due to the pink that I used in order to blend them, and I've been watching Summerlee, and I've also read her book about fading for socks. I'm like, I love her sock fade. Why don't I do this for a scarf? So I had some leftover wool that I had spun for my shifted long hat, and I decided to cast on the simple thing. So here is where I'm at. This came out really, really nice. This is coming out really nice, I should say. I was a little concerned that I was doing it incorrectly when I first started, but I got the hang of it, I believe. You're only increasing on one side, at least I hope. I got to go back and read the pattern. But it's going to be like a more like a crescent shape. And so that makes sense that you're only increasing on one side. So based on what I learned from Summerlee, I'm going to do this for, probably going to use this yarn for probably about 15 more rows, and then I'm going to start the fade because I definitely want the tip to be primarily pink. And the way that Summerlee suggests that you, she has a whole thing that she shared not only on her YouTube channel, but she also reiterates this in her book as well. So you start off with your color B. So let's say, for example, I decide to use this as color B, and the pink is color A. So you go B, A, B, A, B, 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 A. So it's a whole sequence. And then you're going to finish off with this and let that be your primary color. And what I love so much about this is that it has different colors inside of it. And so when I am ready, when this is almost out, I'm going to fade into this. I'm probably going to pull from the middle because, like I said, I really am not feeling the outside of it. And I realize that it's okay if I don't really like the way the colors blended together, but I do like this middle here, that pink and blue. I don't know how well you can see the blue, but there's a pink and blue, and the blue blended really well. I'm going to try to hold this. Excuse the horrible nail color. Well, I shouldn't say horrible, the chip nail color. We did this thing at my job for, we call a self-care fair with our students. And when I say with our students, I advise student government. And so we decided to do a self-care fair with kids, and the colors were pink, white, and red. And it was just too much pink that I was wearing. So I decided to add some black, and I still haven't removed the nail polish from the experience, but it was a lot of fun. I can't deny that. And I'm so glad I participated in that. But anywho, so that's my goal. Circling back to that, I know I'm talking about works in progress, which I guess is fitting. So I'm going to be fading these two. I definitely don't see myself using it outside, but you never know. I want to use it all up as much as possible and then keep it moving. So that's what's going on with that project. It's living in this Etsy bag I purchased from an Etsy shop. This bag is here. I'll just put the name of the owner. There you go. I hope you can see that. Let me get a little closer. Perfect. It was very festive. I thought it was really nice. It reminded me of like celestial colors. So I'm like, let me just go ahead. And my knitting needles are ones I purchased a hot minute ago. They're a fixed pair, and it's the Lucky pink needles. I really like those. The ball has fallen on the floor, so I'm just going to put this over here. Yay, I made it. So let's talk about my works in progress. So that's obviously progress project number one. In front of me is my spinning project that I'm working on. As you can see, my spin is looking really good. I am going to talk more about that in my vlog, but just so you know, I am spinning using this beautiful fiber that you see with the tag on your screen right now. And my hope is to have this vlog out to you in the next 2 weeks, and you'll be able to do that. See that, excuse me. But I am also doing another test knit. I can't remember if I mentioned this or not, but Veronika Lindberg has a beautiful V-neck sweater that she's calling the Comfort Zone. She actually talked about it in her most recent video that she did about another day in the life or a week in the life of the knitwear designer. And I signed up. I know I said no more test knits, but hey, you know I love Veronika Lindberg's pattern, so what am I going to do? And I decided that I had that big old cone from Pearl Soho, their knitting yarn. I need to do something with it. So I decided to say, sure. And I'm glad I did. It's a fairly simple knit. She doesn't need as much feedback for this one. There were some inconsistencies with the numbers, but you know, we were able to, when I say we, the test knitters and I were able to help her with that. There were a few mistakes on it that you're going to see in this pattern. So it is what it is. So the first one with the pickup, the way the pattern was originally written, we were picking up in the wrong direction, which is why one side looks like this and the other side looks like that. But again, that's okay, because I plan to either I can just duplicate stitch over this to kind of make it more gartery, or just keep it moving. And I'll probably just keep it moving. I'm going to pick up for the collar as soon as I finish with the body. So I have about 3.5 inches left of the body to do in stockinette, and then I'm going to do a 3-inch hem. The pattern calls for about 3 inches for the hem. And so I'm going to do that. It's grown pretty significantly as well. So I'm going to pick up the collar, which I know is going to lift the garment up slightly. And I want to pick up and do the collar before I do the sleeves, because I notice it also will cinch in the sleeves. And I want my sleeves to be super long because I want to wear this more of a sweatshirt, because this yarn is definitely more sweatshirty. I am in love. I see why. I don't know if you all watch this knitting channel called Two Sisters Talking Shit. Love them so much. Peaches and Regina. But nevertheless, I sincerely enjoy watching their show, and they always talk about Pearl Soho, and they influence me, and I hope they got some dough from their affiliation of me purchasing multiple times from Pearl Soho. So this is the Pearl Soho knitting cone. The first one I purchased was this jade one here, and this one was on sale for $99. And with this, this was $99, and this isn't this beautiful jade color, and it's like a DK light worsted. And it's a lot softer than what I thought it was going to be. I am enjoying the knitting experience so much. In fact, I cannot wait to cast on something else with this cone of yarn. I'm definitely in my jade fades right now, because this color, I mean, come on, it makes my chocolate skin just pop. So anywho, this gray is going to look absolutely stunning as well. I wish I had this finished for next week. I have to do this presentation next week, and so I'm like, oh, this will be the perfect sweater to wear, but it's all good. I'll just have to wait for another time for it as well. This is probably going to be one of the last sweaters I knit that's going to be wintertime, because spring is trying to rear its head here in Massachusetts. I'm like, don't come. I want the winter to stay. I've loved this winter so far, but like I said, I'm almost finished. I just got to do about 3.5 inches left on the body. Then I'll be doing the hem. Then I'm going to do the collar, and then the sleeves. And with the sleeves, I'm going to try to force myself to do 2 at a time. I am tired of making sleeves where one is at the length I want it to be and the other one is too short. Like, for example, this is ideal in terms, like, as you can see, they're both the same length, but they're not long enough. But it's perfect for like the different things you're picking up about a house. I like long sleeves. I wanted to a little bit past my wrist. And with this one, I'm going to just suck it up, buttercup, and do it 2 sleeves at a time. It feels very tedious doing 2 sleeves at a time. I don't enjoy it, but I'm going to make it work as well, and hopefully get it done. My goal is to do 2 sleeves at a time with this particular garment until all the decreases are done. And then once I finish all the decreases, then I will do one and just keep it moving. Let's hope. But I always just get deterred while I'm doing 2 sleeves at a time. I just get like frustrated. I'm just like, nope, don't want to do it. It's over. So that is another work in progress I'm working on right now. Another one that I almost slipped up, I shared with everyone, is that because I love my Lovely Heart socks so much by Stone Knits, I decided to finally cast on the coffee, I think it's called Coffee Break Socks by Stone Knits. I will put the name of the pattern on the screen for you all so you can see that. But I've been eyeing this pattern ever since I saw Stone Knits mention it on Fruity Knitting. She was a featured knitwear designer that I believe they interviewed her, and Madeline had made hers. And I'm like, oh my God, those are so cute. And she had a little variation to it. I thought it was so adorbs. And I'm like, I want those. And it was at the time when I was transitioning from coffee to tea. So now I only drink tea in the morning for my caffeine boost, but I still appreciate coffee. I let the smell of it, but anyway, I digress. So here's my version of it, and as you can see, it came. Sorry for the needles. It came out pretty good for someone who is still fairly new to sock color work. So I'm not, and it looks like teacups. And my husband even said, he was like, oh, those look like cups. I'm like, I know. Can you believe it? Because sometimes it doesn't always look like the way it's supposed to. So it's a work in progress. I don't know why color work on socks are a little bit harder, probably because it's a smaller circumference, but it is what it is. I'm making the most of it and I'm enjoying it too. So now I'm on the foot. And so I have about 2 inches. I have 2 inches on the foot that I need to do. My son was coming in. I have about 2 inches on the foot that I need to do before I start the toe. So I'm going to try these on since I finally took off my other socks to make sure that they fit and they're at the length I want them to be. And then I'll go ahead and get those done. And then I'll immediately cast on. The yarn that I'm using, let's see if I have the tag in here. Look at me being responsible. Here is the yarn I'm using. This is a yarn dyer. I purchased this from Pick Up Every Stitch at their On the Road to Rhinebeck. Had an amazing time. I got a chance to see Kevin and Ray and Kim from Knit Together with Kim and Jonna. I also got a chance to see Michelle. And then what else? Who else did I see Michelle from Knitting Influence. I saw a couple of other folks too. So it was really nice. I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, I really am enjoying this. This is the same yarn that my sister-in-law had picked when I was there. She bought the yellow yarn and I saw this. I was like, done. This would be perfect for those socks. And it has just the amount of variation. But what I really love about this, it has a little beige tone to it as well. A little beige and a little gray. So I'm in love with them. And I hope to have this finished hopefully by the end of the month. I promised myself 1 pair of socks per month. I didn't plan on casting on 2 pairs of socks this month. So that's why I'm kind of taking my time, because this can totally be my March socks. Although there are other socks that I've been looking at too, which I will talk about that another day, another time, because I want to be mindful of my time here yeah, it is what it is. Rabbit holes are happening. So those are all no, I'm lying. There's one more active whip. We all have whips, but let's talk about the active one. So the Simple Things is active. The test knit is active. The socks are active, and the Rosie sweater is back to being active. So the Rosie sweater is living, and my sister-in-law is calling it a purse. Like, this comes with the whole purse. I think it's a project bag, but she calls it a purse, so we'll just let her have it. But I mentioned a couple in my last episode that I purchased a gift set box of the Cardiff cashmere. I had to buy it. I was tired of looking and saying maybe, and I'm glad I did. It was a lovely little treat for myself. I don't usually spend that much money on, I mean, who am I lying? I do. We all do. So with that said, I have this beautiful cashmere yarn, and I've made myself immediately cast onto it. I know it looks a lot smaller than what it is. That's because I'm using a barber cord, but I did the required length for the back, which at first I didn't think was long enough, but I checked my gauge and I reread the pattern, and I did the exact amount of what it is that she required. So I was like, okay, if you say so. So that's there. I picked up not sleeves. I picked up for the front, checked my gauge again, still on gauge. And now I am doing the next side. And I've been checking my gauge frequently with this just to make sure I'm staying on gauge, because it is one of those projects that I'm putting down and then it's not till a couple of days later that I pick back up again. So I am glad that I am at a point with the project where I can feel comfortable about putting it down. All in all, very happy with the pattern. I'm trying to take my time with this because I want it to come out really nice, because A, the yarn is super expensive, and B, I see myself wearing this fairly frequently. I think this is going to be the perfect transitional sweater because A, it's going to be color work, so it'll definitely give me the warmth in my chest, but it's also very lightweight fabric, which I know that will be perfect for the springtime as well. I can definitely see this wearing it on one of those cooler evenings, especially when it says it's 70 degrees outside, but it really feels like it's 50, because that happens quite often here in Massachusetts in the springtime and summertime. So I'm using my Chagu 4-inch lace needle because all my other 4mm needles have disappeared magically. They're probably on another project. They haven't disappeared. I just don't know where. But I'm loving this, enjoying it, and it is now an active whip. And the reason why I have made so much progress, let me actually put the back on here. And while I'm doing that, I can tell you, one of the balls just rolled out of the room, which I'm sure my 9-year-old's going to find and think it's one of his new toys. So anywho, one of the reasons why I've been able to make so much progress with several of these projects and finish them because of my planning. And that's one of the last things I want to leave you with. I'm changing things up a little bit. The video I originally recorded didn't quite have the sound quality that I wanted it to do. So I just split the clip in order to pick up. So in this particular segment, I just wanted to reiterate the benefits of really utilizing some form of journaling, whether it's a formal knitting journal or something that you make up on your own. For me, I make up on my own. My journal allows me to capture my goals for the week and notes that I've taken about how I met those goals or didn't meet those goals. So as I was showing in the video, I always will list what active whips I want to work on for the week. So whatever it is that I want to be actively working on is what I'm going to list. Once I list that, I also include like a timestamp if I want to spend 30 minutes, 60 minutes, an hour, or more on it. That is what I'm going to list for the goals. In addition, I find that if I just stick to no more than 3, and so some days, obviously, I want to work on some other projects a little bit more frequently, but I'm noticing that if I stick to about 2 to 3 projects per day, it doesn't make me feel overwhelmed, and it allows me to kind of spread myself out where I can still touch on different projects and allow it to make the progress I'm looking for. And so, for example, last week, here we go. There is a better showing of it. Last week, I knew it was going to be super busy for me because I was hosting the event at my job, and then we had curriculum night. Oh, it was just a whole slew of things. So I listed all the different, I still haven't done my nails yet. I listed all the different projects that I wanted to work on, and then I identified the time. And I found this to be really helpful for me. Not only have I noticed that I have a better time knitting the projects, but I'm also finding that once I met my daily goal, if I want to go back to a project that I was working on or just spend more time with the project I'm currently doing, I can do so because I've already accomplished the others. It's the little things that we do sometimes as crafters that will help us feel better. But this is essentially the technique that I found that has allowed me to not feel overwhelmed with my multiple works in progress. So if you are looking for a different technique in order to help pace yourself, where you can have multiple projects at the same time and that you can have your knitting needles or crochet hooks just disappear because they're with other projects, keep a little journal, or keep a calendar, something in order to help you be successful. One final thing I would note is that often my students and sometimes my peers will inquire about how I was able to graduate from college on time while working. I did ROTC, I worked with the men's basketball team, and I did work study. It was all about scheduling. I made sure that I overscheduled myself, but I scheduled enough time in order to complete the things I needed to do so I can have time for me. And that was something else I also learned when I was a principal, because in the beginning of my time as principal, I felt overwhelmed with the number of meetings I needed to do and the fires I needed to put out. And it wasn't allowing me to really be engaged with my community that I was leading at the time. And so, an advice from my mentor, not the manager I had who was horrible, but my mentor that I was also working with, she suggested just scheduling time just to me. She was like, call it meeting with yourself. And I would block out 30 minutes. It was a non-negotiable. Those 30 minutes were always mine. I never scheduled time with students, families, or staff during those 30 minutes because it allowed me an opportunity to either be thoughtful about my practice. I could use that time however I wanted to use that time, even if it was just to sit and eat or just to sit and chat with one of the colleagues I had at the school to continue to get to know everyone. So all in all, I hope that you will take this suggestion in consideration. I'm thankful that all of you or have been joining this community and that you're enjoying these videos. And I look forward to sharing with you my next video, which will most likely be about my spinning journey. And I can't wait to show you what it's going to look like. So far, so good. I did a lot of spinning and I just, can't wait to share with you. Thank you so much for tuning in to this evening's Friday Night Knits. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Goodbye for now.